Why does Spider-Man Homecoming work? Quick warning before we start, spoilers for Spider-Man Homecoming, of course. If you haven't seen the movie or care about spoilers, click on out of this video right now, go see it, and then come back. Alright, you still here? Okay, let's go. Spider-Man Homecoming is great, like really great. It's now the second highest rated MCU film on Rotten Tomatoes, only behind the original Iron Man. That's pretty impressive. Now, as great as this movie is, it really shouldn't have been as good as it is. This is the 6th Spider-Man film, and now the 3rd reboot and version of the character we've seen. This movie had great potential to fail, yet it didn't. And not only that, it breathed a breath of fresh air into the MCU and showed us a different aspect of a long-running franchise. But why did it work? Well, the answer is simple. Respect. What do you mean by respect, you ask? Well, let me explain. To many people, myself included, the last truly great Spider-Man film was 2004's Spider-Man 2, directed by Sam Raimi. This film was pretty much the pinnacle of not only Spider-Man films, but superhero films as well. It showcased a complex villain that you could feel sympathy for in Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus, but most importantly, it was loyal to the character of Peter Parker, and the internal struggle the character has balancing Peter Parker's life and Spider-Man's heroics. Can a normal person in their everyday life deal with balancing the act of being a superhero? It's a hard question, and that's what Spider-Man 2 and now Spider-Man Homecoming answers exceptionally well. After a very subpar outing for the character in The Amazing Spider-Man, side note, I don't hate Andrew Garfield's run, I just hate the scripts he had to work with and deal with. They kind of sucked. Homecoming added an extra layer to the formula that worked in Spider-Man 2. Childhood innocence. Okay, so childhood innocence. What do you mean by that? Well, allow me to explain. It's kind of a weird thing, but this is what I've observed from seeing Spider-Man Homecoming. The Peter in Spider-Man 2 and Homecoming are two very different versions of the character. In Homecoming, we meet a Spider-Man who's new to being a superhero. He's inexperienced, and it shows. In a world where superhero films are the normal, and we see superheroes constantly winning and prevailing no matter what, this is one of the first times I can remember where we see a superhero constantly failing and even struggling to win. It wasn't until the very end where he actually wins and beats the Vulture, and that could be said for the other Spider-Man films as well, but at least in Spider-Man 2, you see him duking it out with Dr. Octopus, and they kind of had an even fight. In this one, the Vulture just straight up demolishes Spider-Man in all of the fights leading up to the last one. It was a breath of fresh air and shows that as crazy as these superheroes are, they're just human. And that's why people connect to the character of Spider-Man. Kevin Feige was very smart to make this version of Spider-Man the one to be introduced in the MCU all the way back in Civil War. He wanted a version that was young and inexperienced so we, as the audience, can connect to him, and also future-proof the MCU. Yes, while casting Tom Holland was a great choice because he is young and looks and even sounds young, making sure for us to receive multiple films and also see the full character progression of Spidey. While yes, it is a business decision, it was just a really smart decision in the end. We can see the evolution of Peter's character and also see ourselves in his shoes as he goes throughout his adventures. Both Spider-Man and Ant-Man are the characters in the MCU most people will be able to relate to. They're human and flawed, and that's why we love them so much. Most fans I've talked to around where I live about the MCU say that Ant-Man and Spider-Man are just the most fun. Ant-Man can be connected to most adults dealing with the adulthood struggle, while Spider-Man can be connected to most kids, teenagers, and young adults dealing with the struggles of that. Spider-Man showcases that childhood innocence, told you I was going to bring it back, that we all once had. Being a kid in a world where superheroes exist, and even getting the chance to fight with the Avengers, and of course near the end of the film, he even was asked to become one. This is Spider-Man's first outing in the MCU. Of course, we can only wait to see how his character arc will progress. I can only imagine how his next outing will be like in Avengers Infinity War, but we can only wait and see. All I know is that we will see a very different Spider-Man after he meets the Guardians of the Galaxy, but especially Thanos.